The cost of childcare is crazy and unsustainable. $2,400. I have 3 kids under 4. $2,400, and then they'd give a discount to my second for $2,200. If you add in my third, it's going to come to about $6,800 a month for daycare. That's only from 9 to 2 a day. $81,600. At that point, it's better for me not to work. What? I feel so defeated in this economy. $82,000. If I were to make a salary and then get the taxes, insurance, and everything off of it, it would be equivalent to about a $130,000 job. What are people doing? How are they surviving? I'm about ready to sell my feet pictures.
How on earth are y'all affording daycare? Because I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. The fun thing about most daycares that you find out when you're looking at daycares is they don't put the pricing online. You don't get to know that information until you go and have a tour. We go, we do the tour, we ask all of our questions, we're very impressed, we love the place, it seems like a great fit. She hands us the packet at the end with the tuition listed on it. For the toddler room, it is $405 a week. That is a little bit over $1,600 a month. I'm sorry, what?
I thought I would share how much daycare costs for 2 kids in San Diego. I have a 3-year-old son who's been in daycare for 12 months out of the year, and a 8-month-old daughter who is in daycare for 3 months out of the year. And for fiscal year 2024, we paid $29,662 in daycare. And that wasn't even 2 kids for an entire year. That is insane.
I just got quoted $500 for 1 day of daycare. 1 day of daycare, $500 for my 4 kids. That's more than $100 each. $125 for 1 day of daycare in this woman's home. It's like an in-home daycare. It's not even like an actual facility. No, like she takes care of other people's kids in her home. She wants me to pay $500 a day. I need daycare for like 8 days out of the month. It's not even that much, but I've never paid that much for daycare ever. And I feel like that's a little insane. Am I crazy?
How much are you all paying for daycare? I've got 2 kids, okay? I am paying $2,675, and that is with a sibling discount. My daughter, who just moved up from the infant room, when she was in the infant room, her tuition was $1,764 a month. $1,700. How can anybody afford daycare? My son, he's 4, so he's in pre-K right now. His tuition is $1,161 a month. Can he be in kindergarten yet?
She brings a point up that I think about all the time. This is more than a lot of people's mortgages. How in the world, like this is craziness. Literally speaking, your mortgage is less than what you're paying in childcare. That's wild to me. Again, it's temporary. Your kids are gonna get a little bit older. They're gonna grow out of daycare. But for the 1 to 5 or however many years it lasts to be in daycare, I don't know how people are doing it. It's crazy. So you may not know this about me, but I'm still kind of doing it, but I was recently house shopping. I'm taking a break for right now. And part of the reason I'm taking a break is because I need to get my income up. And I make decent income. But the reason is because where I was looking to buy in the median price of the home I was looking to buy, my mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, throw in HOA if I have one, not including utilities, was going to be $2,700 a month, around $2,700. So imagine me buying that house, getting a mortgage, and then let's say I have a child come along, which I don't have plan on having that right now, but let's say I do. Now I have $2,700 for my mortgage plus $2,700 in childcare. What is that, $5,400? How do you pay for that? Not to mention everything else you gotta pay for. It's literally bonkers.
I'm sorry, but how can people afford daycare? If you have 2 working parents, how is it possible to afford daycare full time? We are blessed to have 2 days that my mother-in-law watches the boys, which is wonderful. But we have friends that send their kids to daycare all week, and individually each kid is $70 a day. That means if you have 2 kids, it's $140. So overall, that equals out to at least $35,000 for the year. It literally leaves you with like nothing left. Sorry, but the US system is not made for 2 parents to be working. It literally is not. And some days I'm like, why do I even work? I don't know. And I feel like nowadays it is becoming more common and more accepting that mothers stay home. I'm not knocking on daycares either, because bless their hearts, I could never stay home with 5 kids that are not my own. But even them, like, they don't make that much money. People in daycare don't even make that much money. And you look at other countries, I don't know. We need to start paying people more. We just need to start paying people more. They can afford daycare. Or we just need to make it more accepted that mothers stay home. that they can be stay-at-home moms.
So let's address the elephant in the room. And the elephant is that most people can't afford to have someone stay at home and only live off of one income. This is not 1950. Nowadays in the US that we live in, with the cost of things being so astronomically high, most of the time you have to have both people in the household work. That just is what it is. Not to mention, childcare is a temporary period of time. So maybe you have to pay for daycare for the first, 1 to 5 years. I don't know about childhood development. But the point is, after that time is done, they go to school, you don't pay for daycare any longer. And then what happens? I guess you can go back into the workforce then. I guess the idea of maybe being a stay-at-home mom temporarily makes sense, but long-term, not so much. But she does have a point that the cost of daycare sometimes, a lot of times, can be more or equal to what one of the person's income is. So it's almost like you're defeating the purpose. You're having someone else watch your kids and you're going to work to pay for the daycare. Meanwhile, it's a net because you're paying all your money you're bringing in to daycare. So why not stay at home and raise your kids yourself? I get her point. It's a good point. But again, it's only temporary, albeit a very painful temporary situation.
I am so sick of the people saying, if you can't afford daycare, just don't have kids. Or if you complain about anything kid related, the solution is, well, then just don't have kids.
As a society, we need children to survive and continue. So while you may not have children, it does still affect you that parents are struggling so bad right now, and less people are having children because it sucks so bad. If we all just stop having children, then who's going to take care of our old crusty asses?
So it's too obvious to say a statement like, okay, if we stop having kids, then humanity would just cease to exist. That's an obvious statement. Obviously, people have to keep having children to continue humanity. That goes without saying. But there's also something called the replacement rate, which is where if you fall below a replacement rate, which is the number of kids that need to be born each year to replace people that pass away, essentially, it's going to have a big effect on the economy, because then people age out, they can't contribute to the workforce anymore, and you don't have people to replace those people that are leaving the workforce. So that's when you have a really big problem for the society at large, because now things aren't getting taken care of, i.e. Japan is having this huge issue. If you look into that, people in Japan are not having enough children to sustain the replacement rate. And they're saying that's going to be something that's happening in the US as well. I don't know if that's happening yet, but that's something they say is going to be happening. And that's what she's pretty much alluding to. The second thing she's alluding to is having someone to take care of you when you're older. Now that's a hit or miss, because a lot of people have kids that just throw them in nursing homes, or just don't care about them at all. So it's no guarantee that your kids are going to take care of you when you're older, but you do increase your odds that they will, so that helps you. Like in other cultures, like where I'm from, in my culture or my parents' culture, it is very common that the child or the children, grown children, care for the elderly parents when they can no longer care for themselves. So it's a form of built-in child care, or built-in elder care, if you will. And honestly, like I said, I have a family member who they are even considering whether or not they're going to have another kid because of the cost of childcare. That's how bad it is. Whenever they tell me this, it bothers me, because I hate the thought of someone wanting another child so bad and it brings them so much joy in their life, but they're considering not having that second child or third child because of the fact they just can't really afford to take care of them, or not take care of them. They can afford to take care of them. They're struggling to provide the lifestyle they want for the child, or pay for daycare, or balance care with work and what have you.
When somebody tells you they can't afford to have children, this is what they're talking about. A woman in my town's Facebook group shared these daycare rates today, and she said, how do you afford kids here? Because nobody knows how anybody is paying for this. For an infant for 5 days a week with 10 hours of care, it is $664 a week. That is just shy of $35,000 a year for one child. And the price does not drop that much when they hit pre-K here. It's $521 a week, which is about like $28,000 a year. These are incredibly high rates for daycare. These are rates for one kid. We are talking about one child. Imagine if a family has two kids. They're paying $50,000, $60,000 a year for childcare. That is unsustainable for most families. So when someone tells you they can't afford to have children, oftentimes it's because of the cost of childcare. And if it's not just the cost of childcare, it's the cost of housing and groceries. And you compound all those things, healthcare costs, it's incredibly expensive. I did not know, looking back 4 or 5 years ago when I first started having kids, that I would be paying this much money for daycare, because the rates looked drastically different.
So I was not aware at all how expensive daycare is, because I don't have any kids yet. But I do have a very close family member who does have a kid, and they had a kid recently. And it blew my mind when they were telling me the cost, or how much they pay per month in their daycare costs. The only reason this person can really even afford daycare to begin with is because they work from home. So part of the time, they don't have to use daycare as much, because they can use part of the time and have the kid with them in the house. It's not ideal because, again, they're working. They're not supposed to be taking care of their kid, but they find a way